Hello, welcome to the Word Café podcast. This podcast has been designed with curated content that centers on the power of words. Can we really do anything without speaking? Can we really do anything without the agency of words? Yes, that is what this podcast is all about. And I am your host, Amakri Isoboye, your neighborhood word trader. I believe in the power of words, for it is the unit of creation. I trade in words to profit my world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good everything good. How are you all doing? Yes, you're wondering why I'm this excited. Two things. This is our 100th episode. Yes, you heard me. 100 episode, and I'm super excited. Looking back from where, we've been coming all this months. Amazing. Secondly, I have somebody who is so dear to me as a person, to me and to my family. Yes, my mentor. You're wondering who this person is. Don't worry. I'll bring him on shortly, but you know how we do it on the show. This is the space where we come to lean on one another's experience to forge a positive path. Yes. So who do I have? Who do I have? You're wondering. Yes, let me put up that name first. Yes, you saw it. It is Fela Durotoye. Like my daughter will call him Uncle Fela. Is enough. We all know him. Yes, a good number of us. He's a renowned executive coach, a leadership expert, global speaker and author, nation builder, member of the Forbes Coaching Council. Oh no, I just have to bring him up. I know you want to see him. I want to see him too. Where is he? And there he is. Hello, MD. Welcome.
Oh, hello, everyone. And thank you, my brother. Let me start by saying a massive congratulations. 100 episodes.
Yeah.
I admire your consistency. You are such a great man, and I'm so grateful to be your guest on the 100th episode. So I'm glad to be here.
It is my honor having you here within this space. I was processing it. I was just like, how do I begin today's show? Looking back to the first time I sat with you, because that's where it all began, sometime in, I think that was 2020, 21, thereabout. That was when it all began. And yes, listening to you talking, and it's like, pointing me to that theme. This is what you're meant to do. Start something. And somehow you got me in touch with, we call her the podcast queen. That's Tombra. And yes, and it was a 1 month, serious program and all that. And here we are today. First of all, I want to say thank you. I am grateful. By the way, my wife says I should extend her love to you. When I told her everything.
Please help
me.
Okay. Also, multiply.
I will.
Down,
thank you.
Together.
Running over. Thank you. Now, what do I ask you? That's, I was playing it. I kept playing it. I said, no, there's something about sitting with FD and all you hear is leadership, how to move from point A to point B. But I'm going to start it by saying, who chose who? Who chose who now?
Did I choose leadership or did leadership choose me?
Yes, who chose who?
Brilliant. But, in the way I see it is that in a way God chose us. And that's what we're told, that from the foundations of time, before we were even conceived, not even as a concept in the heart of our parents, talk less of being conceived in the womb, we already were chosen. And we were chosen for a pathway. And it was a pathway of impact and a pathway of influence. And in a way where we were all chosen and then crafted, designed, and manufactured to be able to deliver the thing for which we were chosen. So in a way, God chose us before we showed up, before we ever were born, before we were conceived, we were chosen. And then we were not only chosen, but we were equipped for what we were chosen for. So if you ask who chose who, it wasn't purpose that chose me, it was God that chose me and gave a purpose around the capacity to be able to build and develop leaders who will then have the capacity to not only impact their world, but to impart their gifts in a way that will then multiply that it almost like start that chain that we call sustainability. So it then, so by the gifts that I have been given, I impact my world, but then I also impart those gifts on others so that they then go and impact their worlds with that. And that's, so in the answer is God chose me. God chose me and gave me a mandate to go and, build leaders that will build nations, that would shape continents, that will change the world and make it a better place, that will build a collective of those kind of leaders that will have the right values, that will live well, live excellently, and lead excellently, and that collectively together will become a force for good to make the world a better place than it was before we were born. So God chose me. And
beautiful.
And that's it. And God chose you. God chose you to do
like
this.
That.
Whoever is listening now, God chose you.
I like that summation. I was just like, before 2020, what was it like for me as an individual, as a person? Then coming into that sphere, that influence, that, should I say, place, sitting under your tutelage 2 years after, it's like I have recovered 20 years of my life.
Whoa.
Honestly, yes.
Whoa.
Recovered 20 years of my life sitting, listening to you, every bit of it. Now, what is it with you and leadership? I want you to, let's understand it. What is it with you and leadership? Because the truth is, each time I listen to you, no matter what, maybe you're talking about money, family, or whatever, the underlying message is always leadership. That's where it always ends. It falls on that, should I say, stage of leadership. So why leadership?
Well, let me start by saying something before I even answer that question, which is that, I know you're saying that you met me, and in the last 2 years of just being in close contact with me, and I must acknowledge that you're one of the most consistent human beings I have met as it relates to any program that I have done, anything that I'm doing, and always the fact that every time we've called on you to do whatever it is on our behalf, on our platform, you literally have never said no. So I really want to say thank you for that. But do you know that you were listening to the voice of a hearer of this podcast who was saying, since I started listening to your podcasts, Word Café, I have recovered 20 years of my life. But you may not know who they are. Just the same way I'm listening to you now, it's pretty much the same way you are helping other people recover their lives, and one day they will get the opportunity to tell you. But I wanted to just say that you are changing lives in ways you cannot imagine. And you asked me a question, why? Because, and I like the way that John Maxwell said it, because I think that he got it. It's that everything rises and falls. That there were so many things that even God could not do until he had leaders or leadership in place. I'll explain to you what I mean. And, a lot of times people can say, why does Fela like to talk about God so much? Well, I like to say to them, if you have been in this world before, man, I will listen to you.
Yeah.
If you have walked the pathway of this journey called life before, maybe this is your second time, third time, I will be more than happy to listen to you, because I haven't. So I don't know how these things work. So the only person that I know that it seems to have to know how it works is the one who gave me a life manual. Some people call it scripture. I just call it a life manual. And so that I'm able to read the manual and know how to operate this system that have been given to me. I don't understand the way the system works. I have organs that I have no understanding of how it works. I have things that we have no understanding. This life as it is, I have no clue how the thing works. The only way that I can be able to navigate successfully how these things work without doing too much of trial and error is to kind of like check out who created this thing? How did it intend for it to work? And is there any place where I can get information around the creator and the way the creation of his hand works? That's why a lot of times people hear me and I say, I talk a lot about God because he's the one who created this thing called life, this thing called the earth, and the system that it works. Some people may not understand or know this, but we had a couple of moments, right, whilst we were trying to figure out how to get me to hear your audio, and somewhere in the software, it could have been your kids, could have been somebody who pressed the mute button in the software. So whilst on this major platform that we're using, you are not muted, but in the software of the podcasting, that somebody had pressed the mute, and it wasn't you, so you didn't realize, and you were checking, and all of a sudden you found that thing and you unmuted it, and I could hear you, and you and I started to communicate, and it was like, wow, this thing had taken us time. Now, where am I going with this? One of the things that I was saying when you said we have to start this podcast immediately, I said, everything responds to systems. And if you understand how the system works, you move from mystery to mastery. Mastery is where you can do the things you want to do, get the things you want to get done. Mystery is where you want something but don't know what to do to get it. You wanted to speak to me, but you didn't know how. I was there. I was in the studio with you, but I couldn't hear you. You were speaking. You could hear me. So why can't I hear you? Well, we found in the system that there was a button. Listen, and one of the things I said was, if you waited another 5 hours to find that button, that's when we would have gotten the result. If you found it 5 seconds into when we connected, that's because that button is no respecter of time. It's no respecter of age. The button doesn't understand whether Fela is a nice guy, he's not a nice guy, how badly Makri Soboye wants to talk to him, or how much anybody else needs to hear. If you don't touch that button, you don't get the results. So you ask me, why leadership? Leadership is the system by which man is meant to operate on the earth, to be able to download the will of the person who sent him to operate on the earth and deliver the outcomes of that will. Leadership is the system by which man is supposed to operate, to be able to operate at the fullest of his capacities. Leadership is the system that gives ability to man to produce desired outcomes, desired results. Leadership is the ability to be able to get man to be the best version of himself and herself, because man is not about gender. Man is about agenda. Okay? So leadership is the system that upholds the will of those who have the capacity to shape the earth. So when leaders emerge into their place, they understand the system.
Yes.
They understand the system. And one of the most powerful systems of leadership is the system of seed, time, and harvest. And where the leader knows that, listen, what does seed, time, and harvest mean to a leader? It means I have the ability to desire my harvest and determine the required seed, and then stay with that seed, nurture it until my harvest comes. Leadership is the ability to hear things like, what goes around comes around. And to a leader, he says, hey, I get this. Whatever I want to come around, I will make it go around. So leadership is the abilities. It's a system. Let me put it this way. It's a system that causes man to operate in the highest form of his potential, his capacity, to produce his desired outcomes that will make the world a better place than before that man showed up. And, it's very interesting.
As we're talking, sorry for breaking in there.
Go ahead.
Go on. Go on.
God said that, in the book of Genesis, which is my life manual, I don't call it scriptures, I just call it my life manual. The Bible records that God had not yet caused it to rain on the earth, for there was no one there to till the land. Meaning that God was waiting for a leader to show up, for him to do the thing he wanted to do on earth. God wanted it to rain on earth, but he couldn't do what he wanted to do until a leader showed up.
Wow.
Do you see where I'm coming from?
I see it. I see it.
So leadership is everything. Leadership is everything.
Listening to you now, something ran through my mind. I was listening to, I think her name is Jumoke or Adenowo, somewhere on the platform. And she made a statement. It didn't leave me. She said, leadership is the thread that runs through everything. Yes, leadership is the thread that runs through everything. That, just like you're saying, what you just put before us now, that God waited for a leader before he could do anything. He's just like, he's who is there? Who is that? Who has that capacity to understand? Then he just released that. So when you made that statement, that was what came to my mind. And it's obvious where we have chaos, where we have, issues, problems, when leaders, true leaders, come into that situation, you just see like that answer, like you said, the system. There's this response. Go ahead.
It's really amazing, isn't it, Makri, that there were chiefs of the tribes in the house of the tribes of Israel. There were chiefs.
Yeah.
So why did God need a leader that was out of town in diaspora to go? And why did God need to go and find Moses when there were chiefs in Egypt of the house of Israel? Why didn't he just raise one of those guys? Because those guys had the title of chiefs, but they were not leading.
It's not about position now.
It's always about making things better. And the lives of the children of Israel were bitter at that time. And those guys had no clue about how to make it better. So whilst they had titles called chiefs, and we know that Pharaoh used to speak to the chiefs, but they had no capacity to be able to improve the lives of the people. So they had the title, but they had no leadership. On the other hand, there was this guy who had not only he had demonstrated a desire to make things better. That when he saw an Egyptian that was whipping an Israelite, he took matters into his own hands. He accepted responsibility. So he had demonstrated leadership. He had no title, but he had demonstrated leadership. And he had to even run out of town. But still remember, the track record shows that if there was ever one person who would stand up for the people, it was this guy called Moses. So guess what? When it was time for this thing to happen, God said, I would rather go and look for that guy that has a track record of making things better, at least trying to make things better, than just these guys who are called chiefs but are doing nothing to save their people. Because leadership has nothing to do with title. Leadership has nothing to do with position. Leadership has nothing to do with authority. Leadership has nothing to do with nothing except capacity to truly accept responsibility, to make life better, to make things better, and to make people better.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, nerds. Come listen to the History Nerds United podcast, and let's make history fun again. We interview today's best authors, whether they are established Pulitzer Prize winners or someone debuting their first book. Let us show you that history is not a boring class you took in high school, but a place where the best stories come from. And we don't just cover history. We also love to chat about true crime, biographies, memoirs, and so much more. So head on over to History Nerds United and let us introduce you to your new favorite book and learn the story behind the story.
History Nerds United.
Amazing. There's this, what I call it, feeling recently. I wouldn't say recently, but in, say, the 10 years, if you look at that, there's this set of, what I call it, confusion that is coming upon the earth, or that is upon the earth already. And we begin to hear all sorts of definition. One of them is VUCA. But there was something you said about VUCA that I want you to, I want my audience to hear it, because the way you presented VUCA to us, mind-blowing. Can you just go around it?
Well, I think that if the idea is just looking at what the state of the world, especially over the last 2 years, and by 2 years, I mean going back to about 2020 when the world was completely disrupted by the pandemic called COVID. And in a way, for whatever it is, in 100 years, the world shut down and, by this global health pandemic. And we had to learn new ways to live, to work, to communicate, to do business. And if you then layer on that disruption, technological disruption, so now the world had to learn how to shop online for real, and then, in a way, people now got so used to shopping online that the markets went social. So now we don't really just have social media, we have social markets, right? Which means that Instagram has become the new mall where people through Instagram can literally go, and without going off Instagram, you can pretty much see something, like something, go into the DM, the bio, place an order, and it is delivered at your doorstep. So markets have changed, but that's not all. Technology is now advancing at a way that is making things really, really complicated. So whether it's the whole metaverse that is happening, or it then goes on into even some of the global disruptions that are going on, whether it's in Ukraine with Russia invading Ukraine and the supply chain and all of these things that are going on, and there's flooding that is happening in Nigeria, and 1/3 of landmass is covered by water, and it's happening in Pakistan, and half of Pakistan was covered in water, and there's just so much happening at the time. Social disruption, technological disruption, business disruption, And when you ask people, especially people who are in business, to describe the world, they describe it as a VUCA world. Yeah. And V in VUCA means volatile or volatility. U means uncertainty or uncertain. C means complexity or complex. And A means ambiguity or ambiguous. So some people say to you, it's a volatile and complex, or uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. And it is true because, again, it's about the speed of change. It's about asking yourself, whatever my actions is now, how do I respond to what is going on? The way things are going, or even if I did anything, what are the chances that I can predict the outcomes of and all of those things are the things that make business leadership such a complicated task and responsibility. Not to speak about national leadership, it's such a complicated. And I said, if the one thing that is required now more than ever are true leaders. And I even believe executive coaches helping leaders, because what leaders are supposed to bring into this volatile world is vision. What leaders are supposed to bring into this uncertainty that the world is going through is understanding. What leaders are supposed to bring into this complex world is clarity. And what leaders are supposed to bring into this ambiguous world is agility. And so real leaders, when they show up, they bring vision, understanding, clarity, and agility, the capacity to be able to respond with speed in a changing world so that you remain at the cutting edge. And this is the role of leaders in today's VUCA world. In this volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, we are supposed to show up and bring vision and understanding and clarity and agility. And in doing that, we would be able to shape the world, even regardless of all the disturbances that are going on. And I think that was what you heard and you liked.
I mean, I think 2 days ago, I heard it 2 days ago, and it stayed with me. I was like, because I'm a HR person, and we always look at, the uncertainty, things that happen. And the minute I heard you explain this to me, for a minute, there was a switch. So you're not looking at the chaos anymore. You are beginning to see the meaning from that chaos. How do I bring meaning out of it? And just like you rightly said, it is a situation of leadership.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Now, what do you have to say to the male folks now? Because there's a lot of, would I say, antagonism going on today in the world, or targeted towards the male folks. And some people are becoming like, I don't understand. I was having a discussion with my wife yesterday, and she was like, really? Some men are becoming like, they've forgotten that they are men now. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, and they're going to label me something. How do we lead as men, and how do we lead such men in these times?
Well, the first and foremost, let me say that I think that we've got to ride above this division based on gender, and you cannot have discrimination until you have division.
No, take that again.
You can never have discrimination until you have division. If you don't divide some things, you can't discriminate against something.
True.
So you can't say, I'm going to discriminate against men, except you are able to take a people and divide them by gender. You can't say, I'm going to discriminate against this person because it's black, except you decide to take a people and then divide them by color of their skin. And you can't say, I'm going to discriminate against this person because he is Yoruba or Hausa or Igbo, except you have a united people and you divide them by tribe. It is division that forms the basis for discrimination. And one of the things I'd like to say is, guys, please understand, when God spoke about man, he wasn't talking to a gender. He said, let us make man, male and female, God created them. So let's first come to the place of understanding that manhood has nothing to do with your manhood. Manhood has to do with your capacity to be a human being. And that man is an agenda, is not gender. When we begin to understand that, then men will begin to rise into the place of their calling, not as male man or female man, but each and every one of us bringing the best of ourselves and our being into what it is that we do, so that everything we are doing can be better. Everyone we're doing it with can be better. Everyone we're doing it for can be better. And that generally the world becomes a better place because we, man, whether male or female, showed up. I want us to understand that each and every one of us has the responsibility to be a role model that is worthy of emulation. And what does that mean? Very simple, meaning that if anybody ever tried to do what I do, they will become better versions of themselves. That's what a role model is. And that's what we are called to be. And the challenge is that the world has found a way to start dividing us into men and women. And then making it seem like whether the women are doing better than the men, and then the men are the ones that come on. You are a human having an agenda to be able to make your world a better place. And if you stop being distracted by this, how are the women doing and how are the men doing? And just ask, how am I doing? And what should I be doing? And how am I supposed to be the best version of myself such that if my kids looked at me and tried to behave like daddy, they will become better versions of themselves. Amazing. If my wife looked at me and tried to be like me, she will not become a man. She's already a man. She's a female man. But she will be a better human being. She will bring better value to her world because she's trying to be like me. If my friends, my neighbors, my colleagues, the people who are listening to this podcast were to say, hey, if I want to be like this guy, they will become better versions of themselves. Then I am fulfilling my role as a man. Not gender. It's about agenda. And the agenda to make things better, make people better, make places better, and essentially make the world a better place than it was before you and I showed up.
Amazing. Amazing.
Any man listening to me, male or female, stop being distracted by gender. Focus on the agenda. Be the best version of yourself and make the place better. Everyone who meets you, make a positive impact on them. Be a solution provider. Don't be part of the problem to be solved. Be a role model worthy of emulation. Be your best and give your best to everything that you do. Everything, especially the things you're naturally good at. You do the right thing at all times. It doesn't matter who else is doing the wrong thing. You do the right thing. Value time and make the best use of it. And show respect to everyone. Recognizing that everyone carries God in them. And it doesn't matter. There is no smaller version of God. There is no younger version of God. There is no poorer version of God. So regardless of whether the person is young or old, rich or poor, male or female, God is in everyone. Respect the God in them.
Amazing.
And then consciously build a great legacy. Something that will speak for you when you are not there. Something that will speak for you when you are gone. Amen. Do something, leave a mark, but do it now. Do it today. Do it every day. Then live a life of integrity. Speak the truth as you know it. And do something that is honorable. And make your family, your nation, and your God proud. And God will help you on that journey.
Amen. Amen. Hello, guys. You will agree with me. We've been having a swell time. I mean, each. This is the Word Café, but I am lost for words. You will agree with me. We've been having an amazing time sharing this moment with Sir Fela Durotoye. That's how we call him, within the family. That's how we call him, and you will agree with me. Leadership is not position. Understanding it makes your world, better. One last question. I just feel like we should go on talking, but I know we have something else to catch up with. How do I build that capacity for leadership?
Well, I always say that leadership is built on three key pillars: your heart, your head, and your hands. All right, your heart, your head, and your hands. And so, in my belief, it starts with your heart. And in a sense, leadership starts with: what do you want? What do you desire? What do you wish for? What is a better version of what is currently on ground today that you truly want? And that some people will call vision. Some people will call, different things. It's a picture in your heart. But then the other thing about your heart is, what are the values that drive you? What are the things that define for you whether it's right, things are right or wrong, what is good and what is bad? You have to get all of that sorted in yourself as you build your leadership capacity. And then lastly is to begin to understand really what value am I meant to bring to the world? What is the difference that my being on earth can make? And that once you are able to clarify in your heart what your vision is, what your values are, and the value that you are meant to bring to the world, the difference that you are meant to build to the world, the way that you are meant to make the world a better place. Once you can get those three things, you are already on your way to really becoming an effective leader. The next thing is then now to develop the head. I told you the heart, the head, and the hands. And so now you've not got to know, how do I build the required knowledge? How do I build the needed understanding of how things work that will help me to make and create the value that I want? How do I build and build the mindset that will help me to be able to navigate this very complex, volatile, all of that complex world, the different choices I have to make, the options that are, what is the level of knowledge that I need to be able to make things work? And so, part of that knowledge is technical. Some of that knowledge is relational. It's some of that knowledge is business. So regardless of whatever it is, I need to have business knowledge on how to be able to convert value into convertible currency, right? So so they almost to say the what do I want to do and the why, then the how do I do it? And then once you build that level of capacity, to know how do I relate with the people that I'm supposed to do things with. And then the next one is actually getting it done. I started by speaking about your heart, vision, values, value, and then your head, knowledge, the ability, understanding, wisdom, all of that. Then you now go into the hands, the actual doing of it. And this is where skills becomes important. So now I need to keep trying and recognizing that even if I tried it the first time and it doesn't work, then I need to realize and learn from what it is I've done, and then see how do I make things better in a way as to then be able to produce the desired results that I want. So every time I see my results as a feedback, not as a judgment on me, but as a judgment on the process that I used to produce that feedback. So if the thing didn't work, it's not because I failed, because I can only fail when I don't try. But because the way that I worked it the first time just didn't work with the ways that the world wants it to work. If I do the right thing, it will be accepted, right? And that was what God said to me. That was wrong with you. Why are you upset? If you had done the right thing, will it not have been acceptable? God was not having a problem with him. He was having a problem with what he did, but he was personalizing it. And that's how a lot of us are. We personalize failure, whereas the failure was not about you. The failure was about the way you did it. And all you have to do is just change that way. So you have to then perfect it by practice and do it until it becomes skillful. You're skillful at it. So how then do you lead and improve your leadership capacity? Number one, in your heart. How do I do that? I must have the capacity to be clear about the values that drive me or the vision that drives me in my heart, but also be able to express that vision in a way that gets other people to say, wow, I love it. I want to see that come to pass. They can see the benefit of you, they can see what is in it for them, their own benefits when your vision comes to pass. So they buy into it. And then now you also share, well, hey guys, if we're going to relate, these are my values. And they say, well, if we live by those values, we'll be better versions of ourselves anyway. So they adopt those values. And then now you are saying, okay, yeah, fantastic, but this is the value that we want to create in the world. And they say, yes, we love it. We want to solve these kind of problems too. We are happy. So that way you are now creating a team of people. You are creating collaborators. You are creating compatriots. You're creating guys that will work with you whether they are, funders, investors, whether they are employees, whether they're suppliers, whether they're customers. Everybody is working together to see that vision, the values, and the value of your heart expressed. And then, like I said, to develop yourself, you've got to go through sometimes schooling. Sometimes it's reading. Sometimes it's listening. Sometimes it's meditation. Sometimes it's mentoring. Sometimes it's asking questions. These are all ways that you can use to acquire knowledge and understanding. And then, of course, by prayer, you can also acquire wisdom, which is the practical application of what it is you know, to be able to know what to do with it to produce the outcomes. And then lastly, like I said, to be able to develop yourself, you got to try. And when you fall, it's okay to cry. Sometimes when you fall. But you have to remember that it was the chair that was not strong, not you. You climbed on the chair, but you didn't build the chair well. When you fell, yes, you got bruised. But it wasn't you. It was the chair. So rebuild it and climb on it again. And see whether, but you got to know why you're doing that. So that's that. Yeah. So I hope that has been able to help somebody, build really solid relationships, nurture those relationships, because in the end, leadership is all about people. It's all about nurture relationships and master the systems.
Whoa, guys. I am super, super excited for this 100th episode. Having this moment with you, sharing with my audience, I am super, super grateful. I always say this: when you do what you enjoy, time just
amazing,
goes.
isn't it?
Yes, you'll be like, I will spend this kind of time, and you'll be amazed. We've spent almost an hour now.
Oh my word!
Yes, almost an hour. But that's it. But I want to say a very big thank you, a very, very big thank you for this opportunity, for coming on the show and sharing all of this with me and my audience. I am super, super grateful. Guys, we need to let him go. You understand? But
we can do this again. That's what we should. Let's do it again.
Thank you. Yes.
Let's do it again.
Yes.
Let's do it again.
Amazing. So we have another date, guys. He's going to come back, and I think this time we're going to look at something, should I say, extended, and having some questions come in, and live questions more or less, and have him answer these questions. Amazing. But we need to let him go now. But you know how we say it when we come into this space. This is that space where we come to lean on one another's experience to forge a positive path. That is what the Word Café is all about. That is why we are here. That is why I am here. I am super excited. Well, before I let him go, one last word again for my audience. Just one last word.
Well, let me say that, as a last word, the world needs a better version of you to become a better world. The version of you that we have today, in a way, has helped us to create the world that we have. If we don't like that world and we want to make it better, each and every one of us has to become better. And so you have to ask yourself, how can I become a better person so that ultimately my impact can make the world a better place? And so it's really, to be able to do that, it starts with, look at the operating system in your heart. We talk about these things called the 10 values. It's the thing I would like to leave with you as my final word. And it's a system that runs in my family, and I know it runs in Isopo Yamakri's family. His kids, his wife, my kids, everybody, we recite this all the time. And if you would like to be a part of that, I can just lead you in it. And it basically says, this day I hereby commit to live a lifestyle of leadership and excellence, and to do all within my power to transform my country into a most desirable nation to live in. And there are 10 things that I will do. And it says, I will, let's do this together. Like I say, I will make a positive impact.
I will make a positive impact
on everyone I meet.
And everywhere I go. Cool.
I will be a solution provider.
Solution provider.
And not a part of the
Another
problem.
part of the problem to be solved.
I will be a role model.
A role model
Worthy of
emulation.
I will be my best.
Best in
And
all,
in all that I do, particularly the things I am naturally good at. I will do the right thing.
Right thing.
At all times.
At all times.
Regardless of who is
doing the wrong thing.
I will value time. And make the best use of it. I will care and show respect to all.
Show respect through my words.
Through my words and my
actions.
I will consciously build a
great legacy.
Starting now. Today. And every day. I will live a life of integrity and honor. And I will make my family, my nation, and my God proud. So help me God.
So help me God.
Now, if you love this operating system, as I like to call it, if you love this value system, this personal creed that we have created, then one way you can get it is to go to info@gemstoneng.net, and I'm sure Isoboy may be able to put that for us.
I'll put it down. Yeah.
info@gemstoneng.net. All right. Or if you go to www.gemstoneng.net/info or creed, www.gemstoneng.net/creed, you will be able to download that thing and recite it to the point where, like Isobe Amakri, we both could say it off heart, and because we've repeated it enough for it to be retained in our soul. My point is this: we need a better version of you. The world needs a better version of you, and you don't need a title for that better version of you to be created. You don't need money for that better version of you to be created. Even though you will be paid, the better version of you will be paid more money than your current version is. The better version of you will be sought after by people who need the value that you will create. The better version of you is going to be a better husband, will be a better wife, will be a better mother, will be a better father, will be a better child, will be a better brother, will be a better employer or a better employee, will be a better citizen of a nation, will be a better human being. And so we need a better version of you. And the process of taking you from who you are today to the better version of you is leadership. That's all. Don't think about leadership as if it's a big thing. Accept responsibility to become that better person and get on the job of making it happen. And that's it. You would have been leading yourself, and in doing that, as people see you and the better version of you become, they would want to become like you. And that's what influence is. This is not complicated at all. No. We need the better version of you. We will pay you more. We will buy more from you. We will honor you more if the better version of you can be made. So please, give us the better version of you. We need it. We are dying for it. Thank you. Bless you.
Amazing, guys. We need a better version of you. The world needs a better version of you. Now, for that creed, is going to come up on my show notes. I'm going to put, I'll write it out, but also put a link where you can download it from. The truth is, my daughter, because when we started saying this creed, I told Saev one of the days, my daughter stopped me and said, "Daddy, you got it wrong. Like, this is not it. This is it. No, you are supposed to say is here. No." And I was like, "Excuse me, but I was the one that brought it home." And it's like, they've owned it, as in literally owned it. So each time we're saying the creed, at home, she's looking at my face, as in looking into my face, like, try and say something wrong there. Let me see. And I am super, as in, grateful to God for it, because it's like they've owned it. It's theirs. It's theirs, literally. Honestly, when we're driving, even in the car, we're taking them to school, their mom, everything, you just hear the mom will tell them, "I will," they will complete it. "I will," they will complete it. "I will make they will complete it. So it's like, gradually, a little here and a little there, you just see that change all around them. Guys, that is the testimony. That is the testimony. We can go on and on and on, talking. But like I said, I need to let him go. I know he's very busy. He has something to catch up. I know. But, he will come again and we will have this conversation. All right, then I need to run now. This is the Word Café live show. And you know how we do it. Till I come away again. Bye for now. Sayevdi.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
Ciao. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome time it has been with you on the Word Café podcast today. Thank you for being there. You can catch me up on my social media handles, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all at Amakri Isoboye. Also, you can get copies of my books, A Cocktail of Words, The Color of Words, and my HR notebook on Amazon and on Roving Heights online bookstores. You can also subscribe to my YouTube page at the same address. Yes, till we see you again. Bye for now.